How intriguing is it that these major U.S. scoops came from a British newspaper? I mean, a British newspaper doing a better job of playing the role of constitutional watchdog in their former colony than our newspapers are. In fact, I would argue that several of our major media outlets, CNN, I'm looking at you at the top of the list, have done as much or more coverage on what are we going to do to this leaker as you have on the revelations that the leaker has made public. So here we have a British newspaper doing the job that is actually, by doing this job, they are exposing the spotlight on our own media on how pathetic they've been doing this job, okay? This is what investigative, adversarial journalism is supposed to do. And maybe our media, some of it anyway, especially management, I think there's reporters who would do this. I think this shines the light on exactly what sort of a black hole we've had on that subject. Now, is there some, because someone said, Dan, you didn't see this story. This is investigative and adversarial journalism. Yeah, but imagine that across the media spectrum instead of, I can pick out this guy and that woman, and here's a story that was adversarial investigative journalism. They're almost all supposed to be. Imagine, 200 media outlets like The Guardian doing the same kind of work all the time, and then you see the Fourth Estate. Then you see the freedom of the press. Then you see the watchdog that is supposed to watch the government from outside the government. That's their constitutional role, folks. Again, ironic that the entity doing the American constitutional role of keeping the American government honest for American citizens is British. And what this does, besides releasing all this information that we should have a right to know, is it has a domino effect that goes backwards in history and legitimizes what lots of other whistleblowers have said. The government has done a fantastic job of marginalizing, deconstructing, and undercutting what other whistleblowers have said. Now this story confirms that stuff. So you can go back and go, wow, the government tried to, take away the credibility of guys like Drake and Binney with their, National Security Agency whistleblowing operations. All of a sudden you go back and you reread that stuff and you go, they were telling the truth the whole time. Okay? People say to me, a couple of people wrote me emails and said, Dan, how did you know all this stuff years ago? It's not because I'm Nostradamus, folks. It's because this is like a jigsaw puzzle, and you're reading news sources, right? For example, you read guys like Binney and Drake when they come out, and you go, okay, there's a piece of the puzzle. And you read histories on national security, spying, and all that, and you go, there's a piece of the puzzle. And you hear comments made by people in government like Ron Wyden and Senator Udall, which we'll get to in a second. Okay, there's another piece of the puzzle. And eventually you're able to, using history and the pieces that have leaked out there, you're able to get a picture that whereas you still have blank spots in the jigsaw puzzle, you can start to see what the jigsaw puzzle is going to be if you could put it together. Okay? I'd like to say this is common sense. I wish more people were, reality jigsaw players. It's just, as I said, nice to not be considered a kook. In any case, so the story comes out, and the information that this leaker leaks has to do with what the government is doing. And it's what we told you before, folks. They're basically vacuuming up everything. Okay? President Obama, in a fantastically wonderful phrase, said that, this is a reasonable compromise between freedom and security. All this stuff the government's doing, this is a reasonable compromise. Folks, I don't understand how, if you pay attention to what the government is doing and what this whistleblower said and what other whistleblowers have said, that as far as we know, right, we don't know, this latest whistleblower said that they can turn on remotely, I believe he said, didn't he say, Ben, you could turn on remotely your cell phones and your webcams and all that stuff and listen if they want to. I don't understand how you can call all credit card data from everybody, all website traffic, all phone calls, all texts, all emails, all travel data, all credit reports, all library books checked out, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. How's that a reasonable compromise? Isn't that virtually everything? That's like giving up everything and saying, well, we're both happy with the deal. You gave me everything, and I gave you security, right? Did you? Are we totally secure now that you've taken everything? Back to the story, though. Let's talk about this Edward Snowden guy, because what he's done appears to be both heroic. I was proud of the USA Today editorial staff admitting that this guy is almost certainly a hero, because the definition of a hero is someone who is willing to sacrifice everything for a more, a higher cause. And that's what this guy did. 29 years old, on his way to a dream life, most of us would think, right? Already making $200,000 a year, sharing a house in Hawaii with his girlfriend. This guy could have cruised. He's given it all up, and let's make no mistake that he has given it all up. He will be very lucky to not serve decades in prison for this. And the government is going to come down on him like you can't believe. Murderers will get away easier than this guy will, okay? I'm sorry, folks, that's heroic. You may think that's a traitor, but that's heroic.
Snowden told The Guardian law enforcement has already been in touch with Mills. In her blog, Adventures of a World-Traveling Pole-Dancing Superhero, just yesterday, June 10th, she wrote, "My world has opened and closed all at once, leaving me lost at sea without a compass." She and Snowden moved out of this rented home just outside of Honolulu on May 6th. He told The Guardian he left for Hong Kong May 20th, telling Mills he'd be back in a few weeks, but leaving the reason vague. What's curious, she also packed everything up and left for the mainland.
As the story unfolds, the people in the neighborhood here are a little more cautious about going on camera, but one thing that several neighbors have told us that they found peculiar about this situation is that when they looked at this garage, they saw boxes all the way to the top of the windows here. The question is, where have those boxes gone and the contents of the house?
Mills' father told CNN his daughter is now on the West Coast visiting friends just when she left Hawaii. Still a question. So is whether she had any clue about her boyfriend's plans. On her blog, she says Snowden's family was in town on May 17th, just 3 days before he left his life behind. Her next post on June 3rd, she wrote, "The past few weeks have been a cluster jumble of fun, disaster, and adventure." 6 days later, her boyfriend revealed he was the source of the leaked security documents, triggering as many questions as answers.
Today's show is brought to you by Audible. Please visit audiblepodcast.com/Dan Carlin for your free audiobook.